Okay, here is the last little bit of notes for 8.1 and 8.2. These notes in the videos are a little bit out of order from what we did them in class, but all the problems and all the notes are still here. So this first slide is actually just using the summation button on your calculator. So just a reminder on how to do that. You need to hit the math button. You arrow down to where you see the little sigma, sigma notation, hit enter, and you're going to put in when x, like on number 7, when it's x equals 1 on the bottom through 10, and then you arrow over and you put in 9i. If you did it correctly, you should get 495. You can take a few minutes, pause the video, try these problems to make sure that you're getting the right thing in the calculator. And on the second one, you should get 570. And the third one, you should get negative 720. So take a minute, practice using your calculator to do that correctly. And this is, we are just going to go ahead and use that formula for writing a rule for an arithmetic sequence. And in this case, we have, like yesterday and the day before, we worked on if I gave you a term in the sequence, or if I gave you if I gave you a sequence and you had to find the common difference and you had already had the first term in the sequence. In this case, it's a little bit different because I'm telling you a specific term in the sequence, and then I'm just telling you what the value of D is. So basically what this problem right here says is that the 19th term in the sequence, so the, oops, the daisies, I didn't mean to do that. So again, that tells us that the 19th term in the sequence is negative 45. That also tells us that in this case, n equals 19. We also know that a sub n, excuse me, I wanted to, oh goodness gracious, I didn't want to highlight that right there. A sub n, which is the value when n equals 19, is negative 45. So this negative 45 is the equivalent of a sub n. Then we also know that D is negative 3. What we don't know is what the first term in the sequence is. So the first thing we're going to do is just substitute in and figure out what the value of the first term is. We're finding a sub 1. Well, I know that a sub n, the 19th term in the sequence, is negative 45. I do not know what a sub 1 is. I know that I'm looking at the 19th term, so I'm going to have 19 minus 1, and I know that D is negative 3. Then it's just a little bit of order of operations in solving for a sub 1. So I'm going to have negative 45 equals a sub 1 plus 19 minus 1 is 18. 18 times negative 3 is negative 54. If I add 54 to both sides, I get that the first term in my sequence is 9. Now that's not the rule, that's just the first term. Now we need to use our first term and our common difference to write the rule. This is what we did yesterday. So to write my rule, I have a sub n, remember that's always part of our rule. I now know a sub 1, that's my first term, which is 9, plus, again, n minus 1 is always part of our rule, and that told us in the original part that D is negative 3. So we have a sub n equals 9, plus, if I distribute that negative 3, I get negative 3n plus 3. If I put my like terms together, my rule is a sub n equals negative 3n plus 12, which means I can go back, and if I wanted to, I could find any term in that sequence. If I wanted to find the 100th term in the sequence, I would just take out n and put it in there, put 100 in its place, and figure out what that value would be. So here we just have a couple of additional examples of that exact same type of problem. We have our formula up at the top up there, a sub n equals a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times D. Okay. And again, if we look at the values that we know that n, in this case, is 11, Okay, we know that a sub n is 43, and we know that d equals 5. Again, if you look at what we have information and what we do not know, the only thing we don't know is a sub 1, so we can do some algebra to figure that out. So a sub 1 is 43 equals, I don't know what a sub 1 is, plus, I'm on my 11th term because n equals 11, so I'm at 11 minus 1 times 5, because d equals 5. So I'm going to have 43 equals a sub 1 plus 11 minus 1 is 10. 10 times 5 is 50. If I subtract 50 from both sides, my first term in my sequence is negative 7. Once I have that, then I use my first term and my difference to write my rule. So my rule is going to be a sub n. I now know what my first term is. A sub 1 is negative 7. Plus, when I'm writing my rule, n minus 1 is part of it. And I know that d equals 5. So I have a sub n equals negative 7. If I distribute that 5, I have 5n minus 5. If I put my like terms together, I get a sub n equals 5n minus 12. Again, there's my rule. My rule for a sub n always has actually a sub n and n in it. Okay, so we just have one last problem here. This is going to be a fairly quick video today. So we have a sub 13 is 42, and we know that the common difference is 4. So when I go to find a sub 1, I'm going to say 42 equals a sub 1 plus my n value is 13. 13 minus 1 times d, which is 4. So I have 42 equals a sub 1 plus 13 minus 1 is 12. 12 times 4 is 48. If I subtract 48 from both sides, I get my first term is negative 6. Now I'm going to go write my rule that says a sub n equals a sub 1, which we know is negative 6, plus n minus 1 is part of that rule, and my difference is 4. If I distribute that 4, I get a sub n equals negative 6 plus 4n minus 4. If I put the like terms together, I get a sub n equals 4n minus, hang on. This 10 right here should not be a 10 because 4 times 1 is 4, not 10. So if I put together negative 6 and negative 4, I get negative 10. So my rule should be a sub n equals 4n minus 10. We did not get a chance to get to these problems like this where I give you two separate terms in the sequence. The 5th term is 41 and the 10th term is 96. So I am not going to take some time right now to go through those. But if you are interested, ask me and I can certainly show you how to do that.